recording right now, so watch out.
Yes, sir. Noted. I was warned. So
How are you doing?
I'm great. How are you gentlemen doing?
Well, other than the
Well,
part that you called us gentlemen, I know for sure that two of us of the three are not.
I use the term loosely, but
Well, the guy
appreciate
wearing
it.
a tie is always a gentleman. So,
That would be me.
that's
Hey, Ian, Clint Hubbard, nice to see you, Vice
hey,
Chair.
hey, Clint, how are you?
Doing well, thank you.
and
I have to
Ian,
ask. I saw. I think on your website you were grew up in West by God, Virginia.
Was born and raised in Kanawha County,
Okay,
West Virginia. So I'm born and raised and went to college there, and then switched to Virginia when I went to Virginia Tech and never left.
okay,
So
good
yeah,
for you. Yeah. No, I grew up in Covington in Allegheny County, last county on 64 before we go into West Virginia. So
yeah,
we've, yeah. So
definitely
anyway,
neighbors.
I was just,
Well,
yeah, I was curious.
my switched allegiance to Virginia Tech from WVU has been the cause for some interesting Christmas presents over the years. But
I bet it
yeah,
has.
so it's
Yeah.
hey,
but
Ian, also with us is Clint is class of 86 at VMI. He's our vice chair, as we just talked about. Also with us is Joe Eli, who's class of 1988. And Joe is our political chief strategist for the PAC, for the Political Action Committee.
pleasure to meet you,
Hi,
Joe.
yeah. Nice to meet you.
And you know who I am. I'm Matt Daniel. I'm the chairman
Yes, sir.
of the Spirit of VMI,
Yeah.
and we really appreciate you coming. As you might not be able to tell, but I've already, I told you that recording's already going, so we already started this thing.
Sure.
And I'll go in, and if as practice is that Joe normally drops a bad word here or there, or Clint does, I'll go in and take those things out, so you don't have to worry about that kind of stuff. May work or make for an awkward cut in there.
Got it. That's bleeping great. So
That's great. Okay, so Clint and Joe, if you guys go on mute for right now, that would be good, and then we'll bring them in for a question each after a couple of discussion points with you. So, Ian, welcome, and can you tell me about your district, like where the four corners are, basically?
sure. So I'm running in House of Delegates District 22. That is in mid Prince William County. It's a vast district. It incorporates a lot of the rural portion of Prince William County. So the northern part runs right along 66, and you've got chunks of Gainesville, you've got all of Bristow. That's your high density single family home communities. And then as you go south and kind of wrap around the city of Manassas, it hits rural rather quickly as you transition into the Nokesville area. So you get large farms. It shares a border with Fauquier, and if you don't know where that line is with GPS, you can't tell the two apart. So, and then it kind of wraps back around the city of Manassas and gets a little more urban again with housing and such. So it's a large district. Driving corner to corner can take an hour. And it's got an interesting, as Clint brought up, I grew up in West Virginia, so I drive 10 minutes from my house in Bristow, and it feels like where I grew up as a kid, just a very rural setting mixed in with, so it's very diverse in that regard. Lots of different lifestyle types and individuals in the district. New district. So we had our 10-year redistricting process, and this district was drawn without an incumbent. So that was fortunate. So running in a district without an incumbent, it also shares a lot of boundaries with the district, the old 50th district, which I ran in 4 years ago and did a lot of work in name building. And we share a lot of that district, and going into the whole campaign with a lot of name ID and energy from that run. So it's probably one of the more diverse districts geographically in the Commonwealth.
So you spend a lot of time. How many doors do you figure you've knocked in your campaign so far?
I can tell you exactly. I personally have knocked just shy of 7,000. So I'm personally averaging 300 plus a week. That's kind of our minimum That's been ongoing since I announced I'm on my third pair of shoes. So we kind of make a deal about that. I've worn through two. One of them's been demoted to lawn mowing shoes, but we're on our third pair of walking shoes. The campaign is not quite three times that, so 20,000 give or take. We have a great team of folks out door knocking every week and hitting those goals. I just came in. It's 100 degrees today, but that doesn't stop us. So I just came in for this interview and timed it around it. We have teams out. We had them. We were all knocking over Labor Day weekend. So we know that in a district like this, you have to have a lot of real face time with people because everyone's going to get drowned out with TV and mail and internet. All that's just standard nowadays. So you have to kind of go back to the old ways of face-to-face communication. So we've got a great team for that.
That's fantastic. It's great to hear. Typically, we're finding that I'm not sure about those numbers. God, that's a lot. We're hearing 6,000 and stuff, but I don't know if that's with the team, or the individual candidate.
We were fortunate not to have a primary, so we were able to start early. So a lot of folks, their numbers probably, I don't know if they include their pre-primary time or whatever, but we were able to start knocking for the general as soon as we knew we were the nominees. So that helped us with a bit of a jump start. So
yeah, that's good. So what are you hearing then? What are your I'm sure you've got a platform, and maybe you want to talk about two or three of those.
I'm happy to. It's up here, it's cost of living is probably the number one thing. It's the plurality issue that keeps coming up. Northern Virginia has always been expensive. You live here, you kind of take that into account. Inflation has kind of redlined the situation. However, when you're pushing the cost of groceries, the cost of gas, everything to the max, and you're paying $1,000 more a month than you were 2 years ago, that's real money. And so, I think the rest of the Commonwealth has heard Northern Virginia griping about its cost of living for a long time. But now it's getting serious. It's truly the inflation and the cost of goods and services skyrocketing over the last 24 months has really started to push families into a point where it's not just griping, it's truly unsustainable and uncomfortable. So we have, a big piece of that is what can Richmond do? And, we have our hand on several taxes. The car tax bills just came out, so we're hearing a lot of pushback about that. You have mom, dad, two kids. It's very easy, as we all know, to get to 3-4 cars in a household in one fell swoop. And those bills hurt. I hear a lot actually from, in that regard, with the car tax, it's the tradesmen, individuals who by their trade have to own expensive vehicles, big trucks, big vans, lots of equipment. They're not making millions of dollars. They're average Joes and Jills working blue collar jobs. But their entry into that job to be a painter, a drywaller, a plumber, you've got a lot of overhead when it comes to equipment. And then that tax bill comes. And, you may own a $60,000-$70,000 truck or piece of equipment and getting a tax bill on that, but it doesn't accurately reflect your income. And so that's a pinch that we're hearing. So we've had a spike in crime in Prince William County. I think that, our policy on Richmond sets the tone of how we're going to sort of deal with criminals and crime and fentanyl. 5 people are dying a day of fentanyl, so we hear that quite often at the doors. So people are concerned about, it's the mix of our laws protecting criminals versus those who've been aggrieved, and there's concerns about the pendulum there. I've been endorsed by the local Prince William Police Association and the firemen, and so they definitely feel the mood out of Richmond is not in their favor. Clearly. And so I think they would like to see the pendulum swing on that. And kind of unique to our district, we have data center issues. We have sort of that industrial development you hear a lot about that north of my district with a large project there. But in my district in particular, you have this unique phenomenon of developers rezoning residential lots that are in the heart of other communities to light industrial. So you have houses, industrial, and that's generally not the way you do it. So there needs to be clearer buffers and how we transition from residential to industrial. It's kind of planning 101, but there's just a lot of interest, and I get it. It's a gold rush. Anything, you clobber 2 acres together and build a data center and you're rich. But if those lots were always destined to be residential and they're in the heart of residential, it's really hard to go into industrial without a lot of buffering. And, is that possible? And that's, from a statewide standpoint, that's probably not that interesting, but it's really hot up here.
Thank you for that. Sorry,
No problem.
I got lost in my own notes there.
I can talk for hours on zoning reforms.
Yeah,
Don't get me started.
right. So that's what I got here is cost of living, crime, and the data center
Yeah.
issues.
Yeah.
Okay, and how do you think it's going when you're, are you getting any polling or anything like that?
Yeah, the response at the doors is out of this world. I mean, we're just having really great response. The way the data works is you have the app and it kind of guesses where people are. And the first sort of test is you walk through your universe and is the data right? Are the people who are supposed to be friendly, friendly? Are the people who aren't friendly, not friendly? And are the people in the middle, seemingly in the middle? So our data is good. Our response rate, of course, amongst the Republican base is strong. And what we're seeing a lot, though, is this really positive feedback from the swing universe, which is what you want to see. So there are very few, most people are partisan for good or ill. Something in the political universe has shifted over the years and people have kind of picked their camps. And there's this precious middle that truly swing back and forth. And after our first loop through the universe, they're the ones we're really trying to talk to now. And the response is good. They want to see the candidate show up at their door. They're not used to that in this district. They want to know that their candidate can talk about the local issues like specific projects and data centers. And the response is good. Polling has come back solid. We're exactly where we want to be. The data we have is Youngkin won the district by 7. Hung Kao won it for Congress by around 4. You want to kind of be in the middle. We expect to be in the middle of that, and the polling is bearing that out. So for us, there is an opponent. There's someone who we are running against, and it is a purple district that leans a little red, and so that's very tantalizing to my opponent's party, and they're not going to give it up without a fight. And he's out there every day, but our goal is to be out there 3 times as much.
Well, that's good to hear.
Yeah.
That's good here. I know that that Joe, the thing we just talked about, is going to lead right into Joe Eli's discussion with you. So, Joe, take it away.
Ian, these legislative elections are usually low turnout elections, and we're always talking about Matt and I and Clint. I'm very concerned that the Republican base is not as energized as the Democrat base. And there may be a landmine out there that the base doesn't turn out. Are you concerned about this? And if so, how are you trying to address it?
I mean, we always assume we're running 5 points behind. We always assume the base needs to be poked and prodded. Our polling shows that our base is excited. They're plugged into this. They're happy with Governor Youngkin. They're excited about things we've gotten done in the Commonwealth under a Republican governor and a Republican House, and they recognize the need to protect that. So we're showing a lot of excitement amongst the base, but we assume nothing. So our universe is we're knocking those swing doors. We're knocking those people who we really know are Republicans but don't always vote in off-year elections. That's the sweet spot. Right. So that's where we're knocking, we're calling, we're mailing. We have our own early get out the vote initiative started, but we're also it's important to see the work the governor has done through Spirit of Virginia with the Secure Your Vote Virginia initiative. And we're seeing when I'm out door knocking, quite often I get to a door and it has the Get Out the Vote Virginia hanger on it before mine. So we know that team is also really pushing early vote. The governor's all in on early voting. We are told that it's working. The numbers, the registration numbers so if you can get a Republican who doesn't always vote in off-year elections to agree to an absentee ballot or agree to early vote or sign a pledge or get their information on a list, and we're seeing those numbers go up. So I think you're going to see historic early voting amongst Republicans. It's going to lag Democrats. It's never going to quite meet the Democrat early voting numbers, but you're going to see historic Republican early voting combined with, I think, a lot of enthusiasm on election day. So we're going to have a good year for early voting, but we got to keep on it. That's why I'm a candidate and I have received 5 things about early voting from Secure Your Vote Virginia. So I believe, the energy's in there and it's happening. And again, that aligns with the universe that we're knocking to.
Oh, that's right. So the early voting really, the fact you can see if the base is turning out in real time, you can get that.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, who's signed up to get the absentee ballot. Who has already voted via early voting. So, I mean, gone are the elegant days of a countdown to November something. We are counting down to September 22nd, which is in 16 days. So, or to us, this campaign starts in 16 days, and that's a part of the good or ill of a 45-day early voting cycle. If you hate getting campaign mail, one of the reasons is because of the 45-day early voting cycle. It's extended the election window by weeks and weeks. But we are prepared. I'm going to be out there. I'm the guy who loved walking into the polling station on election day and seeing everything, and I'm going to be voting on September 22nd. Just to set the example of what everybody needs to do.
Thank you.
No problem.
Thanks, Ian, for that. That's motivating, and I'm very excited about the Secure Your Vote initiative that the governor and the entire party and everybody, I guess, at this point should be pushing it. So that's good. That's good to hear. Clint, you've got something for Ian, don't you?
I do. Again, Ian, thanks for your time and thanks for being here. We touched a little bit on it last time, but I'll give a little bit of a tee up before the question. But obviously, the spirit of VMI PAC, if you follow Virginia politics in October of 2020, we took a throat punch really from one of the parties in Richmond and put us on the defense. And no one in Lexington that we saw really countered that. Nobody from the VMI administration. The President Board of Visitors did send one letter. But after that, there was really not much defending the honor of VMI, and that is kind of the background of where the spirit of VMI. Just to sort of reiterate where the spirit of VMI PAC came from. But the question is, the spirit of VMI PAC supports the time-honored issues of integrity, leadership, patriotism, and the citizen soldier ethos that are really the essence of VMI. Can we count on your support? Can the spirit of VMI PAC count on your support to help us keep those values alive and well at the Institute?
You absolutely can. I mean, I think that you had a gubernatorial administration that was on fire and in chaos, and full just direct candor obviously was Northam. Northam found himself in the controversy of controversies that one can imagine. He was in free fall. How he stabilized and saved himself is beyond my imagination, but and I think he was looking for ways to deflect left and right. I think that his party started looking for ways, once they forgave him and once they decided he wasn't going anywhere, they decided that they needed to find ways to deflect left and right. And I think VMI got drug into that as a way of taking pressure off of the administration that caused the controversy, the party that started out by calling out the governor, but then discovered they were stuck with him and had to figure out a way to work with him and to sort of smooth over their own contradictions. Because if you look at their comments at the beginning of the controversy and then later on, something changed and shifted. And I think a way that they did that was they threw a lot of sacrificial lambs on the fire and to draw attention away, and VMI was one of them. And I'm sorry that happened, and my hope is that, and at the time, you had one administration and its appointees in the General Assembly and in the VMI leadership and on the board of directors or the board of governors, and none of them were going to be prepared to speak back or clap back, I don't think. So hopefully, as that shifts and changes, you see under the current administration, hopefully things are improving. Certainly, as that continues and the General Assembly remains even more so in Republican control, you see more progress on restoring things, and certainly the image of VMI.
Obviously, the score, Ian, and thanks for saying that and recognizing all that has happened. And we are, as Clint said, we are in existence because of that. So I'm really proud to talk with you. And I didn't know. I mean, we had a phone conversation, but I didn't know that you knew so much about what had been happening with us and the reason why we're here. We're distinct and different from VMI, but we're totally in support of VMI and in support of those legacy values that Clint was talking about. So we really appreciate your understanding of that. And all it really means is that for us anyway, and our endorsement of you, which we are giving you, our endorsement, or you earned it, I should say.
Thank you.
Is that when there's something that is bothering us with regards to, a policy or maybe some legislation or a question that we can reach out to you, and you'll take a phone call or send us an email back or whatever.
Absolutely.
So we know. So
Absolutely.
we very much appreciate it. So if I can get you to say that VMI is good, that's kind of our little tagline, then and most people recognize that, but there are some that don't, like the Washington Post goof. Then that would be sort of seal the deal for us.
I'm happy to say VMI is good.
Okay. Okay. Well, I appreciate it. You guys have any last rounds, any save rounds among you for future delegate Lovejoy?
No, just best wishes and good luck, Ian. And thanks for all you do. Thanks for being in the fight. And as Matt said, and Joe, thanks for being so well versed on VMI. It's refreshing. Thank you.
I appreciate it. I appreciate your all's time and your support, and I look forward to talking to you all again when I'm in Richmond.
Ian, one point I wanted to bring up. I'm not sure you brought it up, but you spent years as a city councilman in Manassas. Is that correct?
I did 8 years on the Manassas City Council.
That's a great foundation for running for this seat.
It is a trial by fire. I mean, it is day in, day out, meeting your neighbors, talking about potholes, and it's a year-round gig. Some people have mentioned the stress and rigor of going into Richmond, and frankly, I think it's a lot, but it's contained. Whereas council was year-round, full-time, and it is, everyone should have to do a tour of duty in the local government before going off, because you learn a lot fast.
Yeah. Well, good luck.
Thank you kindly.
Well, thanks a lot, Ian. You can go ahead and leave us now. We're gonna talk about you behind your back now.
Thanks, gentlemen. Have a great day. Thank you for your
Good
support.
luck, man. Wow, he really does know the score.
Yes, he does.
That was one of the best explanations. He explained it better than I could about what happened. He summed it up nice. Maybe he's been reading my stuff. What do you think?
You came off the top rope at the very end when we were supposed to be done. Now I'm gonna have to figure out how to get that in there.
I was not going to jump in. Usually I don't jump in, but I figured he didn't mention that though, did he? Because I was trying to listen to everything he said, but he didn't mention the city council.
He
right?
did not mention it. No, he didn't.
Okay,
He didn't say anything about it.
I had to do it.
No, yeah, and you didn't get to say goodbye to him either. I mean, Clint gave him his love note, and then and he thought he was done.
Yeah. Yeah. And then Joe grabbed him by the ankle and said, "Wait a minute, where are you going?"
Not so
remember,
fast, big guy.
Matt said, "Do you guys have any last bullets you want to fire?" Right.
Right. Right. Do both of you have any last bullets that you?
Yeah.
That's why I jumped in off the top rope.
I get you, and I'm glad you did it. I'm going to keep it in just like it was, I think.
Yeah, he's that guy is. I mean, I really, we haven't talked to any that are, that have been a disappointment. Maybe some have been, a little better than others. I can think of a couple, but sharp people, and he was really. I mean, that guy was. To be able to pull that out about the VMI issue and freaking know it. I mean, he knew it cold. He knew exactly what the hell the score was. That was awesome.
He reminded me of what's the senator in Ohio, Hillbilly Elegy, who
yeah. JD
Vance.
Yeah.
He reminded me of JD Vance.
Well,
and that's a compliment.
It's the bellwether race. HD22 in the House of Delegates. Of all the close races, we got to pull this one out.